Here's 5 ways to improve the biodiversity in your garden from the perspective of an ecologist. Tip 1, have a permanent body of water. Here at OmVed, we're lucky enough to have 2 large, amazing ponds. But if you don't have that, then even a bowl of water or some bird feeders will do. And what that does is it provides an opportunity for mammals, your foxes, hedgehogs, to drink water. And it's a habitat for invertebrates, which are then food for amphibians, which is then food for other predators. Tip 2, native plants which flower throughout the season. Native plants have co-evolved with a lot of the wildlife we have in the UK, so they're more useful in terms of habitat and food quality. Think about planting native species which flower throughout the year to maximally provide food opportunities for pollinators. This is hawthorn. It's one of the later spring flowering fruit trees. And why it's useful is its blossom is useful for pollinators. And then in the winter, actually, it produces a red fruit, which is useful for a lot of wintering birds, such as redwing. Think about planting for a variety of seasons in your garden. Early on in the spring, fruit trees flower, and then it's the wildflowers. And then later on in the summer, it's ivy which flowers. And so throughout the season, there's good food source for pollinators. Tip 3, compost. Composting takes what you've grown, mushes it all up, produces nutrients which can return back into the garden. It's also a habitat for a lot of invertebrates like earthworms, slugs, woodlice, spiders, which provides a great food source for other mammals like foxes and hedgehogs. Tip number 3, be messy. Throw a whole lot of wildflower seed, let it grow. It creates height, creates textures for a lot of invertebrates, a lot of mammals, a lot of birds to find food in. And in the winter, those hollow stems which are produced, you don't have to clear them away because they produce excellent hibernaculum for overwintering insects to find shelter in. Also your lawns, you don't have to mow them so much. If you do need to mow them, just use a shimmer and create little paths that wind through your garden. Another tip is all that dead organic matter, those leaves, those sticks, branches, twigs, you can sweep them up into a little corner or perimeter of your garden where it doesn't really get seen as much. And that creates a lovely habitat for lots of invertebrates, amphibians, mammals. The last tip is to work with your garden. So don't use pesticides or insecticides because that kills everything unselectively, which is terrible for the ecosystem. Instead, we can learn to share our garden with all its inhabitants. I think it's important that we relinquish this obsessive idea of control in the garden and instead appreciate that it's a shared space with all the rest of the wildlife in our natural world.